Hey, welcome back to another edition of Open Shutter, and have the pleasure of welcoming Thanjua to the program. So thanks, Thanjua, for jumping on this thing.
Hi, it's nice to see you.
Yeah,
Hello from
first
Toronto.
first podcast in life, I guess.
Yes. No, I've actually done another one before, and it was a really
Nice.
cool experience as well. I'm just gonna say I also go by TJ. It's a
TJ,
common
yeah.
nickname I use, so it's Thanuja / TJ.
Cool, TJ, I love it.
Mhm.
Well, thanks for taking the time.
Awesome.
And for the people that don't know who you are, maybe what do you want people to know about you?
I identify mainly as a creator, and that it comes in different spaces how I present myself. So I do content creation, I write, I also do photography as
Yeah,
an art form. And I
right.
really love storytelling as a creator. It's a really big area of life that I'm passionate about, and it's it received a lot of attention in my life in the last couple of years. So I'm happy to share about my different
Yeah.
platforms.
Yeah, yeah. Why don't you dive into that and what kind of stories do you like telling?
Through the modality of content creation, I have a platform where I share about experiences. So that's like smart for phone photography mainly on
Right.
that platform. I really champion supporting local. So that
Yeah.
goes with exploring local too. And um, really, in the last couple of years, I was really able to dive into it with the pandemic and supporting small
Mhm.
business and our neighborhoods, our cities. So it allowed for exploring, and then I kind of wanted to develop my photography skills as that platform started growing.
Right.
I wanted to create a sub platform for myself, which where Snapshot of the Moment came to life, and it was to focus on the art of photography. And with it being such slow years, I was able to focus on art, focus on details,
Right.
take workshops,
Cool.
offered by so many different places around the city, and just connect with other photographers. I was able to go on walks, and
Yeah.
I'm an explorer, so I love traveling. And as you can see, I love capturing what I learn and applying it wherever I go. So that's
Right.
been the journey there. Yeah, that's
Cool.
how it came to be. And this art form has actually allowed me to expand as just as a creative, as an artist in other areas like writing. I've also
Yeah.
dabbled into writing recently, and it's
Yeah.
interesting how one lens can help you in another when it comes to arts. And I like being multidisciplinary with it. So it's
Why
been
not,
nice.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
also you don't get bored. If you get bored of one thing, you can just go to the other thing a
exactly.
little bit,
Exactly. Mhm.
So what do you like writing about? Like what do you like? Is it short stories? Is it personal stuff or
So it's a collection. It's anthology, so it's a collection of short stories. Not just with myself. It's the type of style of writing I've kind of honed in on is they're personal stories, but they're themed around different things. So the
yeah.
very first one I did was about it's kind of like if you've heard of Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Right. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
describes stories that come around a familiar theme called "To Breathe Again." So it's
Yeah.
really like personal development type of stories. There's big moments in our life that happen to us and they change us as we are. So I
Sure.
talk about my creative journey coming to birth again after being dormant for so many years, and
Right.
how it all started actually in high school with the yearbook committee. I was a photographer for the yearbook
Nice.
committee. So I
Yeah.
dive into that storytelling there. But I also wrote in another one. It's called Brave Kids 2. And it's a bunch of authors coming together in these type of stories, these anthologies. And we're sharing stories to help children be brave in that one as well. So
Ah,
it's
cool.
really cool. I
Nice.
got to create a visual for that. And I do feel like, having the exposure to photography allows me to be creative in this way too, with the writing and
Yeah.
visualizing the stories and how I want to paint the picture. Right. So, yeah.
Where does one find the writing, or is it available online?
It's available on Amazon. There
Okay.
are lead authors so far in these two anthologies. I have another one I'm a part of that's coming out with A Beautiful Life. It's going to be coming out this year as well. That one's
Right.
about harmony. So I share it on my main personal page, which is tj.thanuja. So
Okay.
it's linked to my Snapshot of the Moment profile as well. So I will share it for people who connect with me there, and yeah, I offer it as they come out and they're on my main feed. So it's been really nice.
Yeah. You're getting feedback from people on on the writing pieces?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like
Cool.
I've dabbled in the world of authoring now, so I'm in different communities, and there's so many ways that books can come into the hands of people, and how your story
Yeah.
can be presented. Um, Another art form I really find myself in is public storytelling. So I'm in a lot of communities now where I go to events and I support events where people are sharing their stories live.
Ah,
So
cool.
it's another type of art form, and I love it. I love the space of storytelling, and I really want to add with photography. I really want to capture human storytelling at some point. But right now, I'm
Yeah.
focused on landscaping and capturing details as I travel. So who
Ah.
knows? I might venture into that direction as well when I find my next project.
You never stop. You never
No,
stop.
no, it's
So
fun.
it's like, is it the author that's reading aloud their own story?
Yes,
Ah, okay.
it's themed around different things, right? So the children's book is different types of stories to encourage children to be brave, and it
Yeah.
could be in the first person, it could be in the third person. My story is about a curious cat,
Okay.
so it's told in the form of myself as a cat. Um,
Cool.
so it's very interesting
Huh.
how that came to be as well.
Yeah.
Everything's inspired by the creative process, so it's
Right,
been
right, right,
fun.
right.
Mhm.
Cool. And you do you find like it takes time to like get into like the writing zone sometimes, or like you just sit down and you just write?
So with this process, with writing anthologies, you're part of a group. You're not just by yourself. You're with other authors. So you're kind of accountable because you do follow a timeline where the book needs
Mm.
to be submitted, and you can kind of talk with each other, engage each other, and like check where you're
Okay.
at. So it really helps with the process. That's why I started with collective
Cool.
writing this way, and I think it's been really good in terms of accountability, like getting things done and,
Yeah, exactly. It's so
actually
big.
creating a product. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's always good to like work with others, especially when you're starting out, because you just
exactly.
feed off their energy too, right? Because it's not, sometimes it's a very lonely process sometimes, and sometimes you wonder, oh, does anybody care? Is anybody going to read or watch or listen or whatever the thing is? But
It's
when you're
true.
with it,
Artists,
when you're with a group, you just feed off the energy, right? Like it's, oh,
yeah,
this is so
exactly.
cool.
Exactly. And
Mhm.
artists do find I find that in all the different places that I'm involved in spaces that I'm involved, artists do get lonely. It's a
Yeah,
very
it's very
solo
lonely.
process, and
Yeah,
especially with photography, like
huge.
I do notice that quite a lot until
Yeah,
people meet, and it's like, wow, they feel like they've meet like-minded people, but it's just such a solo process in some ways too.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Like we're kind of on our own. Like we're all doing our own thing, but we're also in the end trying to do the same thing. We're just trying to create work that we love and that we're proud of, and we're all trying to grow as artists. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's definitely good that you found people to like do that with. Like, where does one find that? Like, where does one find these author groups? Are they on Meetup? Are they on certain websites?
Actually am a part of a group with Meetup to help with accountability called
Oh
it's
yeah.
called Shut Up and Write. It's like it's a fun
Oh yeah.
name. It's
What's
in
it
different
called?
cities. It's called Shut Up and Write.
Shut up and write. Wow, very
Yeah.
direct. I like that.
It's very direct, and
Yeah.
you actually for the first hour, I want to say like 40 minutes to an hour, you're not talking, you're just writing. And then the
Wow.
next part of the hour you are socializing with others. So that's been really nice. Like I dabble into that when I find myself challenged. Meetup also is how I got into photography as well. Like if I
Yeah.
want to go to national parks or places that are a bit harder to get to, there's quite a lot of people organizing
Yeah.
walks. I
Totally.
I've also organized that as well. So I
Yeah.
think for me, when it comes to the creative process, having like a group or accountability is a big thing.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah,
Because it's not your job. Like no one's asking you where the thing is. Like it's
no,
up to you, right? So
exactly.
it's, yeah, it's good. It's good that you did that. Super cool, I think.
Mhm.
Wow. So like how come you stopped doing all this artsy stuff like back in life? Like you stopped and then you just picked it up again? Like what happened?
Yeah, like as one goes through life, I guess your focus is on certain things. And after high school, I went straight into university, went into
Yeah.
U of T, and I really was just focused on cerebral things like research and studying and books. And the
Yeah.
love of books is there, but I didn't really engage in the creative process as much, and it was very
Yeah.
analytically driven. And I'm not sure why that gap kind of was there, but it was really truly the pandemic years, a little bit just before that, where I'm just like, what's a hobby that I really like that I want to go back to? And
Yeah.
it just started out of the blue. Like, I just started having time, or making time, I should say, and I picked it up again.
Wow, eh?
Yeah.
It's like all that time, It's like it's crazy
Mhm.
how like just time goes and then you just like sometimes you just forget about the thing that you used to do because now like you got a
Mhm.
real job and you're doing real thing and it's like, well, no, I
Mhm.
actually like doing photography. Or I actually like, writing or painting or
Mhm.
sketching or whatever it is. But yeah, it happens to everyone at some point, right? Like that's why it's so hard to keep going, especially when
Exactly.
at the start, like nobody's reading, nobody's watching, nobody's like, it's like, does anybody really care?
Well,
So
see,
it's,
that's the thing, right? Like, I had that. I've actually had quite a. I was thinking about why I stopped. I had a period of time where I had no social media. There was
wow,
it was I want to say just shortly after university. There were a couple of years there where just was off the grid, and it's like
nice.
a 180 to who I am now. And
Right.
I think it was just needed at that time. I just was off the grid, and then platforms like Instagram and YouTube started picking up around then, and I
Yeah.
started getting back into things. But it was almost like a very different life, and I just I was really exploring. Like, I was off the beaten track, like off the
Where'd you
grid.
go? Where'd you go?
I started my travel bug back then, so I'm
Oh yeah.
an avid traveler, and
Where'd you
that
go
was
then?
so many different places. I've actually hit
Yeah.
50 countries. Like,
That's it?
it's that's it. Yeah, so
Jeez, okay.
those years were focused on hardcore traveling and just,
Really?
then I started realizing I started getting people making comments when they were on my phone, or they started picking my brain. They're like, you know a lot, and it needs to be shown somewhere, and you have an eye for things. And I think when I was
Ah,
starting to receive that feedback, I'm like, okay, why don't I try? Why don't I put
yeah.
this out there? So I actually started joining things like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Yelp,
Yeah, yeah, I know
the
Yelp.
Yelp community, and I started
Yeah.
posting things on Google. So I started becoming a Google guide. I'm like, this
Oh
is
yeah.
fun. This is kind of like gamifying what I know, and
Why not?
putting it out there. And then I just started meeting more people, liking what I do, and liking
Yeah.
what I know. And they're like, yeah, you know a lot. Put it out there, and here I am. Right. So
Right. Yeah, like to me it's like you never know what someone doesn't know. Because it
exactly.
could be so basic, but maybe they don't know that. And
Hmm.
to me it's like your knowledge is worth something to someone. So,
Exactly.
it's so sometimes, sometimes we just need that push to like actually start putting stuff out there. So it's
Hmm.
not easy for everyone to hit publish, but I mean, to me, it's like, what's the worst thing gonna happen? You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like,
I do think someone noticing makes a difference, because I really think about, yes, it was high school that I started photography, but I think about when I became a creative, and it was actually the fourth grade. And it was the
yeah,
teacher that I had. She was really like, at that age, we study so many things, but she really was factoring in on art, and she made art so fun,
yeah,
in so many different ways. And I think that's where the spark happened. So
right.
and she was able to see it in me, and like having
Mm,
someone like an authority figure be able to see
yeah,
that in you, it's huge, right? And that
yeah.
gives you that kind of. And I got really good grades in
Did
art.
you
I
crushed
remember,
it? Eh? Crushed
yeah.
it?
So
Eh?
at that age, and I'm just like, why did I forget about it? So
I'm gonna be a full-time content creator.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's ideal, right? But
Right.
I really like having it in a mix of things that I do. It's nice to dabble in, and I like
Yeah.
doing it on the side. It keeps the creative energy going when
Yeah.
you don't make it your whole entire life too. So that's kind
Yeah.
of what I wanted to also bring about today as we're talking, because
Mm,
sometimes people experience burnout, right, when they make this their whole life. And
all the time.
Yeah.
You
So
can burn out by still doing something you love.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
like to me, it's like I don't think there is a dream job. Like I think every job
Mhm,
that you have, there's gonna be something that you don't like about it, but it's just
mhm,
the way where you approach a job and how you manage a job. But you can still not like it. Like it may
mhm,
be you may be, oh, I'm making content and it's cool, but maybe it's not aligned to your values or your goals or what you're really passionate about. So it's a very tricky line, right? Because I think
mhm,
on social media, like being a content creator is very Hollywood wise, like it's very
mhm,
glamorous. Like you're in Bali on the beach working, but
mhm.
that's not really how it goes. Like that's not how life works.
Exactly.
You
And
know?
people need to see like, what happens on the flip side, like on the back end, like the boundaries that need to be set, the
Yeah,
self-managed timelines, the relationship building is a huge
it's
part
huge,
that
huge
people
skill.
don't see. Yeah, it's a
Huge
very
skill.
big
I was
skill.
just listening to someone today.
Mhm,
They're having a podcast and they're talking about how to build relationships and how it's so important
mhm,
to carry yourself in a certain way. Like
mhm,
simple things like being early, don't be late, be early, make sure that you have good energy, make sure that you're listening to what people are telling you, don't get defensive about feedback.
mhm,
All these things come into play where they were saying how like your portfolio is one thing, but when someone mentions your name, the first thing they're going to remember is how you made them feel,
mhm,
right? So, oh, maybe they're thinking about hiring Paul for the next project. But then, oh, maybe they remember, oh, Paul wasn't such a great guy, so that
mhm.
may lose you the job, right?
Exactly.
So it's so important to carry yourself in a certain way, minus the work. Like now, it's about you as a person,
Exactly. How you show up matters so
how
much
you
in
show up, like how you treat
so
people,
many
like
areas.
you
Yeah.
need to listen. Like they were really adamant about like not getting defensive about feedback. Like
Hmm.
put your ego aside. Like you need to understand what the client wants. It's not about your artistic vision. This is
Exactly.
this is your thing, right? So I'm glad you mentioned about how you want to do this not full time because when you start doing it full time, it's no longer about you. It's about
No,
them.
exactly.
And
So
that's a huge difference. Yeah.
that's the turning point actually that happened to me. I want to say like a few years ago when the client started to come, I was like, okay, part of this is going to be work. Like, part of
Yeah.
this is going to be for other people and it's not going to be like completely your own visual identity. It's going to be,
Yeah.
you're going to be presenting for someone else and just like with anything, you're representing these people, you're representing this brand and it's integrity at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So
Of
a
course.
lot of people when they start out in something like this for fun, none of that is going through their head, right? And
Of
that's why I
course.
think this industry, I feel it's so hard to come up with things like reputation and your rates and like
Yeah.
what value is because everything is so broad and how people engage and appear is so across the spectrum. So I think
Yeah.
that's why it also makes it fun, right? Because it allows for individuality, but at the same time it's ever evolving too.
Yeah, there is no manual, there is no blueprint. Like someone
Mhm,
asks you for your rates, like, oh, well, it's
mhm,
like, well, what's your budget? Like, how much do you
mhm.
want to pay? And to me, it's like your work is worth as much as someone's willing to pay for it. Someone may pay $10 for it. Some people may pay 10,000.
Mhm.
So what's it worth to you, right? So that's why it's such a important like you need to remember to like carry yourself in a certain way. Say no, like you're hiring me, but you're also hiring my work at the same time.
Exactly.
Like we come together, right? Like reliable, dependable. You can reach me. Yes, I will listen to your problems, your concerns,
Mhm.
and these are all things that people may have or they may not have. But again, I think that also that comes with experience too, especially when you're like dealing with clients. 'Cause
Yes.
every client's different. Like you're gonna deal with good clients, you're gonna deal with bad clients. Like what are you gonna
Mhm.
do, right? You need to treat everyone the same way and and also this podcast is talking about like problem solving. Like don't say no,
Mhm.
I can't do that. They're saying come with solutions, like present solutions to the client.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's also another skill set. Like
Totally.
you gotta come with a solution.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
And it's applying all the things you've developed experience wise, knowledge wise
yeah,
over
like
the
these are
years too, right? But for me, it's also like this comes back to like how you present yourself. Like how do you show up as a creative?
yeah,
And right now I'm kind of doing like self work where this ties in the reading and the creative process.
Right.
I started The Artist Way. I've always read this book, and I highly recommend it for anyone who's in their creative journey because it offers kind of like a discovery of yourself and diving into being a true artist. And
Yeah.
for anyone who wants to take art seriously, I
That's
really
it?
think, yeah, that's right. That's right. That's it there. So I think this book talks about doing this in 12 weeks, like
Yeah.
going through the artist way in 12 weeks. But living where we live in a fast paced world, I've actually created a discussion group around this, and we meet once a month to do each chapter. So that's my
Ah,
strategy with a lot of creativity. I do it in groups. So it's been nice because things like where we talk about rates and money, and when we talk about like um, expression and how
right.
you present yourself with clients, that starts from an initial seed of how what you learn and how you view things. And
Mm,
this book is really good at like going through those different themes and talking about
yeah.
um, you know rewiring how you look at this
Right.
as
Right. You got it. You almost got to change like the way like how you think almost.
exactly, and
Right.
it
Not
helps
easy.
you um, where you're at too in your journey of an artist. It helps you
Mm,
reframe everything. And if this is something for people who do want to go full time with art and creativity, it's a really good foundation, I think, to
yeah.
set
I may
those.
have to get this. I like these kind of books.
Yes, and they have a workbook too. I've been using it, and
Uh-huh.
um, you're supposed to be writing morning pages
Right.
every day, and it's not an easy process, and it's something that people self manage. And this is exactly why I wanted to get this book as well, because when you get into the habit of building something like making time in your day for that creative process,
Right.
um, it starts to become like automatic. It starts to become
Yeah.
something that you don't think about. And I
That's
really
the
want to
truth.
get into that rhythm of where the creative like energy just flows. And
Ah.
the morning
Oh.
pages really help with that, right? Like it's such an amazing ritual to
Yeah.
have.
What is it though? What is the what like for like guys for the people that don't know, like what is morning pages?
So the morning pages are you write in the morning, ideally, you
Yeah,
write three
yeah.
pages and you
Before
just
coffee or after coffee?
anything. It's your
Oh,
morning pages. You
okay,
make it what
alright.
you want it to be, right? The coffee makes it a treat.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so you do your thing. You find your space. You create your little ritual, and you write 3 pages, and you just
Okay.
let the stream of thoughts flow,
You
and
don't stop writing, you just is
you
it on
keep
the
going.
computer or with a pen?
Some people do the computer. Some people do a pen. One person in my
Uh,
discussion group uses, I think, a website or an app where it times what 300 what 3 pages of writing would be. I think it's like a
cool.
word count that
Right.
she gets to, but um, I don't always get to 3 pages. But my goal is to just do it every day. It's like
Mm,
meditation or
right.
something like going to the gym that people do as
That's
their
good.
daily
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, it's been really good for me. It's
Yeah.
helped with a lot of what I find that people struggle with a lot with art and just what the age that we are right now is so much information and so much that goes on in our brains, and that's probably why some people put it off for a while, maybe why some people don't start. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, also because probably some people may just worry about what other people think too, right? I think
Mhm.
there's also that.
Yes, exactly.
Self-doubt, like imposter syndrome, all that stuff, I think comes into play. But I mean, talking about like, social media, there's just so much noise out there.
Exactly.
Like there's just so much noise it's like for me, it's like it's hard to think about like what you actually want to do and how you're going to do it because like you got all these other conversations in your head, you know.
Exactly.
That's why I like when you mentioned you just went off the grid and like just didn't go on like social media at all. It's like, well,
Hmm.
what a dream that is.
It
But
is. And I like to do this, not like completely off the grid for
yeah.
the, a year or whatever, but I like to have it just to clear, like maybe
Yeah.
seasonally, like a couple of
A
days,
detox, a
a
detox. You need
detox,
like a
exactly,
social media detox. Yeah, it's just I don't know.
exactly,
You
just to
feel
refresh, right? So,
yeah, like it gets
mhm,
it gets very noisy sometimes. Like it's hard
mhm.
to I don't know. You lose. Like to me, it's like you always need like a North Star. You need
Yes,
like a North Star of like where you
mhm,
want to eventually get to, and like everything that you're trying to do should be in support of that. Everything
exactly.
else is just a waste of time,
Yes, exactly.
right? But
So
how does one know their North Star?
yeah,
Like, what is that?
I think it's trying it, trial and error. Like you try something, does it fit to this North Star vision? If
Yeah,
it doesn't, then you let it go. But like
right.
that's where my explorer side comes out, where you dabble, right? You dabble into
Mm,
different things, and you
yeah,
see, okay, what sticks and what suits me, what doesn't, and then you just keep going. So
yeah. It's okay. I guess it's
mhm,
okay for like the North Star to change too, right? Because you
mhm,
also change as a person.
exactly.
The person that you were 10 years ago is going to change from the person 10 years, and then 10 years from there, and then 10 years from there. Like it's always changing. Like life's always changing. Like nothing is stagnant. So,
Mhm.
why should your goals be stagnant too, I suppose? I mean,
For sure, for sure. I love
it's
that that mentality because we are supposed to evolve. But I believe that we're supposed to evolve, to our best
yeah,
selves, and
yeah,
it's picking up from where one part of our life to the next, and then
yeah,
evolving to the next. I
yeah,
love the transformation aspect of
right.
of where we can go with this, right, and the
Yeah.
expression that can come out of that. So,
Yeah, it's
like, I
good.
never
It's
thought I would be a writer. Like, I never thought I
no,
would
you
be
never wrote when you were a kid or something?
I did, but, like, it was journaling or, like,
Right.
because I had to, but I never really thought I just, like my nose was always in books, and I liked,
Ah,
certain styles of storytelling. So,
right.
I never really thought that would be the case, and even photography, like, I really, like, deeply fell into it during the pandemic years, and
Yeah,
I did something where I would pair it with another passion where like I love fitness and I love wellness. So I
right.
would go on walks and I often use platforms like Meetup to host these walks, and
Yeah,
I would just
yeah,
take my camera with me, like
yeah,
and I wouldn't make it like a rigorous walk, but the fact that we would go out and walk, um,
yeah. You get some air, you get some exercise.
and you get some
You
creativity in there
you
too.
you meet some people, have a
Yeah,
have a little chat, and
yeah.
nothing wrong with that, but
No, not at all.
sometimes, like, if you're going on a photo walk, sometimes it's not even about the photos, it's more about the conversations because you never
Oh,
know what someone's
sure.
gonna say or who you're gonna meet or all this
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
Because sometimes things take time too to, like, develop, and then, "Oh, this person knows so and so," and then you go out with these people, and then
Mhm.
you just never know until you go, right?
Exactly. Yes,
So
sure.
it's just a matter of like just getting out there and like not kind of like being so closed off. Because I think also as people that are in the arts and doing all
Mhm.
these things, like sometimes we get closed off and we just kind of
Mhm.
get stuck in our own way, like it's just, oh no, it has to be this way. It's like, well, no,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be. Like you can do it another way, you
The
know?
biggest challenge I think I have, and I think a lot of people have as artists, is perfectionism,
Oh yeah, all the
and it's
time.
just it's that has been a
It's
big
just that.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it causes the paralysis. It causes the delay, and then people just don't put it out there, and they wait,
yeah,
and then
sucks.
time passes by, and it's like I
Just
always
put it
struggle
out.
with quality versus like, okay, just doing the thing and just putting it out there.
Yeah.
So it's still something I'm learning as I go through this myself.
All
So
right. Yeah.
yeah,
You're a big perfectionist.
I would say so. I think
Yeah.
that's probably part of the reason why I wasn't dabbling into this during the academic years of
Right.
university is the energy was so much like needed
Yeah.
in school that I just didn't have
Yeah.
that same um, I guess drive to put it in something like art where
Right. Because
you
you're
you
using different sides of
develop
the brain too,
you
right?
do, and
Different.
you develop such a critical way of thinking, and when you apply that to art, it's like it can be messy, it can be dangerous. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Messy art's the best art.
yeah, it is. So I think all that suppression from the years of academic like
Yeah.
schooling and like thinking critically is the why the artist is coming out now like in full
Right.
force.
Yeah. It's like,
Even
get me
some
out of here. It's been too long.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, what'd you take at school? I'm just curious.
I went to U of T and I studied psychology,
Ah, okay.
international development studies, and health. I wanted
Ah,
to be a foreign service officer or work for
oh,
an NGO, and that love is still there. Like I was a public servant for about 10 years, and that love
okay.
NGO work is still very much there. It ties in with the travel. So
Right,
I
right.
like to do these things in different phases of life. So I'm coming
Ah,
back to it again. And I think it's going to cross my path again. So
yeah, yeah.
mhm,
Super cool.
it's very cool. And,
Combining all these different kind of areas into like one sometimes. It's cool.
mhm, mhm.
Kind of fits almost like a puzzle, you know, a little bit.
Of course, of course. When I travel, actually, I love supporting art from like artists from
Yeah,
nonprofit spaces and like
yeah,
villages. It's one of my
right.
favorite things to buy is from artists when I'm
Sure.
traveling. So
Totally.
I can see myself doing something related to NGO work in that again,
Yeah, yeah.
supporting artists and
Cool. What are some of the most artistic countries you've been to?
I love Latin America. I love the
Right.
street art that I saw in was Argentina and
Yeah.
you know so many places in like the way that art is done is just so vibrant and colorful. There's a lot of
Yeah.
bold colors.
Yeah.
Um, I love the street art that I saw in Melbourne as well. Like I went to
Australia?
Melbourne
Yeah.
last year, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and it's
Nice.
just like Europe is also with Europe, it's more architecture that I was drawn to. Like I
Sure.
recently went to Portugal and I went to a very old library. I think it's one of the oldest libraries in the world.
Yeah.
Um, in Porto, and I was just staring at the ceiling, and I was just so amazed that this long-standing piece of art is still around and preserved. So
Bavaria, is it a Harry Potter bookstore in Porto?
yes, exactly. So
Nice,
J.K.
nice
Rowling, I
images.
think, was really inspired by this store and quite a lot of
Yeah,
things in Portugal when she spent her time there and developing her creative ideas for Harry Potter. So
yeah.
I get this inspo from other creatives too. Like she's a big inspiration, and yeah, that's it there.
Crazy. If that doesn't inspire you, I'm not sure what will.
Yeah, it ties in the love of like just it's so beautiful to photograph. Like it was just
Yeah.
stunning, just the way that the
Jeez,
stairs came down, and yeah,
that's wild.
I
Was
was
it
in
packed with people
Argentina
taking
too.
photos?
Sorry.
Was it packed with people taking photos?
No, actually, more people were had their nose in books. Um,
Ah, okay. So
I would
actual,
say
yeah, proper
that was
proper bookstore.
yes. In Argentina, I also came across another beautiful bookstore that was, um, I don't know if it was a bookstore or a library, but it was in an opera house, like a former
Yeah.
opera house. So that was really, really beautiful as well.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find it right now, but I think I
Yeah.
found it.
These spaces that inspire creativity are so important.
Huge,
Mhm,
huge.
mhm.
I found it. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most gorgeous pieces of like architecture I've seen. Like it's
Yeah,
just so stunning what they did
yeah.
with that space, and
Great, eh?
it's
Yeah,
just it's so I haven't seen anything like it, and they have a cafe in the back as well, so
yeah.
it's really lovely.
Yeah, it's great. It kinda gets the, mojo going with trying to make something, right? Like,
Mhm,
you just feel inspired, like, all that energy too, right? Like,
mhm,
it's great. Like, in Toronto, like, it's not that we don't have it, but we don't have it to, like, that extent, you know what I mean? Like,
mhm.
it's tougher to come across.
It is, and this
Just
type
getting
of
inspired.
art is old too. Like I mean, Portugal is a lot more older than
Sure.
Canada, and
Yeah.
so some of that is there. But I find that with travel, it does make me want to dive into the creative side of myself more too. It just
Yeah.
gives me a different way to look at things, and then I see how creatives
Sure.
are in other places, and I like to see how I can see it and
Sure.
approach it at home too. So
Yeah. Just kind of reframes the mind because you here in Toronto, you do the same thing every day. You just kind of
mhm,
get blasé about your surroundings. You're not even
exactly.
really paying attention. You just kind of like
Mhm,
do your thing, and then whenever you go to a new place, it's like, oh my god, this is amazing. It's like people that
mhm,
come to Toronto and they visit
mhm,
Toronto, like it's the same thing. Like, oh, this is amazing, but we live here,
mhm.
so it's different. It's like, yeah, yeah, it's the same tower. I get it.
Well, one of the things I was inspired to do after, because when I travel, I go on a lot of like neighborhood walks and tours,
Yeah,
so you get to
right.
explore different parts of famous neighborhoods in different countries, and I'm like, why don't I just do this at home? We're known for neighborhoods in Toronto,
Sure.
so there's so
Yeah.
many different opportunities to do that. Like some neighborhoods have festivals throughout the year,
Yeah.
and that's like just take your camera and walk around, and you might find
Yeah.
something cool. Like one of my favorite things to do is Halloween on church.
Hmm.
I don't know like what inspired me to do that. I think it might have been like Day of the Dead or
Right.
some other festival around that time of the year. But I'm like, why don't I just walk around in parades and stuff at home
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
way, right? So yeah.
Yeah. Just be almost be a tourist in like your own city.
Oh, it's a
And
big concept. I feel like it's such a great way, especially if you can't travel, um,
right.
like abroad or overseas. It's such a great way to just get that same energy.
Yeah. Plus, you got to meet people.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
You got to meet people, kind of
Hmm.
see what's going on. But
Hmm.
yeah, again, it's all about energy. It's all about like focus and like
Hmm.
commitment and
Hmm.
all these things that kind of separate people a little bit from the ones that kind of keep it going over a longer term versus people that just kind of like go in and out. So
Hmm.
I think what like I think everyone is artistic in some fashion.
Hmm.
Like in some way they are. They may not know it, but I think
Hmm.
in some way they are. They just gotta find it if they don't know it. You know?
I believe so too. They just have to tap into it. Like
Yeah.
it's a matter of do they want to do this or not, right?
Right.
Do they want to
Right.
spend that time and energy? Because it is energy intensive. Like the amount of
Yeah.
time it takes to go out, get your camera, like if you want to hit that golden hour, or for
Sure.
example, when was it where the time of the year where the henge is strong, like
Oh,
big
Sunhenge,
happy, yeah, sun henge, yeah. So things like
Torontohenge.
that, they're
Yeah.
so intentional, and you need time to plan that out and do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It's a
You
whole thing. I know.
know.
But
Mhm,
I mean, do you think about people that do like, serious jobs like doctors
mhm,
or lawyers or like really stressful jobs? Like,
mhm,
I would imagine you need some sort of outlet to like do
mhm,
something
mhm.
else.
I would hope so because
Play piano or something. I don't know.
I think you do need to balance both sides of your brain. Like I feel like I can't even imagine going back to what I was like when
Yeah.
it was just cerebral, not engaging
Yeah.
the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different world, eh? Different times.
Different times for sure. Yeah.
Man.
But art is so important, especially now with the world kind of being in flux so much. Like
Yeah.
I feel like it's such a great way to share a message and your truth.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Mhm,
don't think there's a better time for it. And plus now
mhm,
with the internet, you can post it anywhere. Because to me,
mhm,
it's like you never know who's watching when. Could be
mhm,
today, it could be tomorrow, it could be next week, it could be next year, but
mhm,
if it's on the internet, it'll be there forever, right?
mhm,
So you just never know. I think people have this like need to be like, it has to go viral now.
mhm.
Like a lot of clients would be like, "Oh, let's make this thing go viral." It's like that's not really how it works.
It's not really how it works.
Can you
Exactly.
just make that go viral? It's like, yeah, no problem, make that go viral.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
things do take time to kind of like you plant
Mhm.
the seed and then you plant another seed and then you just kind of water it a little bit and then it grows and
Mhm.
you know
Yeah, you have to
it's
cultivate the garden. It just
you
doesn't
do
water itself.
you do,
So
right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know, you look at, people, sometimes people discover artists and they have like a crazy, crazy portfolio of work because they've been working for 25 years and
Mhm.
nobody's ever heard of this person. Like it happens all the time. It's like, oh, I had no idea.
I think that's what also inspired me. Like, there's a lot of actors and public figures that didn't start their
Right.
career till much later. That this was probably their third
Yeah,
or fourth career, and I think that's what
exactly.
really motivated me to try this out as well, and like later on as well. And I
Yeah.
was like, we were talking earlier about how you change so much. Every person
Yeah.
changes every couple of years, and I think that needs to be championed more, that it's never too late, or it's okay
It's
to take
not.
a break and just reevaluate what you want to do with your life too.
Yeah. People change careers all the time at
Mhm,
any age. Like it
mhm,
doesn't, I mean, yes, there has to be a plan. You need a
mhm,
plan of how you're going to do it. But I mean, I think the separator is actually like pulling the trigger on and actually
mhm,
doing it. And that's when you hear about those stories, right? Where, someone's 65 and they're going skydiving or something crazy
mhm.
like that, right? So, okay.
I
Um,
don't know if you're familiar with The Alchemist by
yeah,
Paulo
yeah,
Coelho,
I have the book.
but
Great book.
you really have to be strong in that dream, whatever it is that you're
Yeah,
going after. Like it
yeah,
depends how badly you want it. I think at the end of the day, like how
yeah,
much this matters to you, how much it gets you, keeps you
yeah,
alive. And I think that's where your focus will be, like whatever
yeah.
calling your attention, and everything else will
Yeah.
kind of just take its
Yeah, I
own
know.
route.
I'm just worried about like kind of like that conviction kind of dies over
Mhm,
time because
mhm,
maybe you get a little bit self-doubt, maybe you get a little bit of like external feedback from whoever,
mhm,
but to me, I think that it's easy to lose that drive a little bit too. Like that's why it's so important to like be so focused on it because it's so easy to like listen to other people. It's like, no,
exactly.
you can't do that at that age. What are you talking
Mhm.
about? You're crazy.
I think
You
it's
know?
important to do art for yourself first,
Yeah,
like,
of
so
course you
that
have to.
that's
You
the
have to.
for me,
It's
that's the way,
critical.
because if you don't, it's really easy to fall into that doubt and that,
You have to make it for yourself.
mhm,
I think even if you're like become the most successful painter in the world, I
mhm,
think whatever you do has to be for yourself
mhm,
at least a little bit. Like sure, people may want certain pieces from you, but I mean at the
mhm,
end of the day, it's like it's got to be for you a little bit. Otherwise, then it just becomes like a job where you may eventually become to hate it, and
mhm.
that becomes a tricky line to walk sometimes, right? But
And it reflects in your work too, like what
of
you're
course,
feeling, what you're showing, and
of course, you want to
it's
take pride, right?
yeah,
You're an
exactly.
artist. You want to take pride in your work.
Mhm, mhm,
I think that's I don't know. Like, I'm not sure what like the definition of an artist is, but I think an artist makes something
mhm,
without like the need for validation from others. Like they just make it
mhm,
because they want to make it. Like it's not for you, it's for me.
mhm.
I think that's the definition of an artist. Like it's for me. Like that's
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
You know
Like
what I
for
mean?
me, it's like a form of self-expression, and you're putting it
Yeah.
out there, and it's really this energy that just comes out of you, and you're just presenting it
Yeah.
to the world,
Of
right? It's
course.
something that's deep within you, just wanting to get that message
Yeah.
across. Really, for me, art is a message. Like it's the
Right.
highest form of expression.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think
and it's so
honestly, like
personal, right? So
yeah, and like that message, I think people will like resonate with it because people
mhm,
may experience the same thing that you're trying to express,
mhm,
or they've gone through it, or
mhm,
maybe they've known someone. But at the end of the day, we're all people. We all go through similar things at some point.
mhm.
So people will, some people will get it, right? So just a matter of like being authentic in your own work. So at least that message is authentic when that person sees it or hears it or watches it or whatever. So
Yeah, for sure. I also feel like art is like vulnerability because it takes a lot to show, whatever inspired it to come out. Like for my writing, the personal story
right,
sharing, that's something that I wasn't comfortable doing maybe a couple of years ago, but I came to a
yeah,
point where I really wanted to try that style of writing and put it out there. So same with
ah,
photography, same with anything.
right,
It can be inspired by a painful part of your life, or
sure.
something that you had a difficult time with, and just even acknowledging it and bringing that up, and people might really you know resonate with it, and you don't know whose life you'll
Well, they
impact,
will. They will.
right?
They will though, and they
Mhm.
may not even tell you that it did, but they did. But
Exactly.
it did. They may like. I think sometimes people don't even tell the person that it impacted. They
Mhm.
just did, right? So
Mhm.
you just never know. You just never know who's watching when. You just have no idea. The internet's a weird place sometimes, and things get out, and you just never
Yeah,
know sometimes.
for sure, but not even just the internet. Like I was at an art gallery and I was looking
Yeah.
at the group of sevens work,
Right.
and usually when I'm going to these places, I don't devote enough time to just be there and process what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Like I tend to just look and then walk. But I was really looking at these paintings, and they just took me in, and they just were like
Mm.
telling me a story, and they were evoking so much in
Wow.
me, and I was like, wow, that's what like true art really
Isn't it?
does. If it really reaches you, it reaches you at such an emotional level, and it's like, wow, this is this is the experience of going to an art gallery. Like this is how
Right.
it should be, to be able to have that connection to someone else's art. The fact that someone can do that is pretty amazing.
That's
Yeah.
that's that's an artist.
Mhm, mhm.
Are they your favorite? The group of seven? Are they your
No,
favorite?
I just happened to be in that
Oh,
area of the exhibit. So,
cool.
but that's like an early memory of like what type of art that I saw. Like I remember
Mhm.
studying about them in school as well, in elementary school, and Canadian history. So
Yeah, shout out Canadian history.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
think I
for
failed
sure.
it. I think I
Yeah.
failed it, but that's a whole
Well,
that's
the
a whole other
history part,
story.
yes, but not the part that has to do with art.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. So
Mhm.
what's the secret for people that were in your boat when when they want to do something, but they can't pull the trigger? Like, is there like a hack that you have, or is it more just like a personal thing?
I don't know. I just
Yeah,
started and I
you just
just ran
started,
with it.
just
The
ran with
thing
it.
is, once you start, it's good to be consistent. Like,
Mm,
yeah, it's fine to take breaks and do your thing, but if you want this to be for yourself, like, know your rhythms and keep a consistent pattern and keep putting it out there. Like
yeah,
it doesn't matter. Like with the thing with social media is we're all going to be affected by this algorithm and judgment and
yeah, yeah.
shaming and all the things, the negative things. But it also has a lot of benefits too. Like I've made so many connections through this world, and I don't know, my life would be very different if I didn't listen to the feedback of why not just put it out there and see what happens.
Yeah, sure, of
Right?
course.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a good point that you raised with that. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, you got it. I think, yeah, you can use social media for good. Like, you can use Instagram to like network and
Hmm.
build
Exactly.
relationships and all that, instead of just like mindlessly scrolling, and all of a sudden you wasted like 30 minutes of your time. So,
Yeah, it's a
yeah,
double-edged sword, right? There's pros and cons to it because when we had something like the pandemic, that was the way that people stayed connected. Like that
yeah,
was
I
the way
know.
that people were able to get by sometimes and just put out what they were feeling, doing, and it also
Yeah,
inspired people to try things they wouldn't normally try too. Right. So,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I like it. Just guys, if
Mhm.
you guys are stuck with trying to do something but you can't pull the trigger, just do it, Nike
Mhm.
style.
Exactly.
Just go,
Nike style.
just Nike style that thing, and you
Messy
just
and
never know.
all. Yeah, wherever you're at, it's really
Yeah,
about honoring. Okay, it might not be Picasso right now. Like it might not be like the
sure,
be all grand all
but it
and
can't be Picasso. That's the thing. It can't be.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
impossible.
Yeah.
Like, it can't
So,
be. It can't be X or Y. Or it has to be
mhm.
you, right? I think that's where people get stuck. Is no, it has to be Picasso, or else
Yeah.
it sucks. It's like, well, that's not really the point of it.
That's what I mean. Like it's your own version of your own what Picasso is
Yeah,
for you, right? Like
yeah.
it's not to compare to Picasso, but it's like you have this vision of what your art could be. It's like your potential,
Sure.
but you're not
Yeah.
okay with where your art is right now. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people get stuck in the, okay, I'm not ready to share this yet because I know I can be better at it and get better at
Sure.
it. And then you let time pass and it's like, okay, it's not being presented at all, right? So,
I know, right? Like, I don't. Sometimes I think like the best artists
mhm.
in the world aren't on social media. Like,
Mhm.
they're just not. I think they're just
Yeah.
doing their thing. They don't care what other people
Mhm.
think.
Mhm.
They're just doing their thing. They're making their piece, and then when it's ready, it's ready, and then they would move on to the next thing.
Exactly.
Like, you don't even
That's
hear
why
about them.
it comes back to the point that it has to be for you, for that
Yeah.
kind of enjoyment. And then maybe they didn't get discovered so much later, maybe they don't, but
Maybe
it's,
they don't care about it though. Maybe they don't
yeah,
care about being
exactly.
discovered. Maybe they just want to do it for them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's so important.
It's a,
And I think
it's a
that's
great
why
flex.
I
It's a
need
great
that
flex.
now. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
You're gonna go off grid again?
Yeah, yeah.
And to work on your stuff. Well, I always wonder about that. It's like, I think sometimes the best artists aren't on social. Like, you don't really know about them until they
Mhm.
die, and then all of a sudden they discovered their warehouse of like all these crazy art pieces. Oh my god, I didn't know Jim was whoever.
Well, I think about legacy a lot, and I feel like
Yeah,
that's why writing and photography, it's such a great legacy to leave behind
isn't
because
it?
what if like 50 years from now someone suddenly finds a piece of something that you put out into the world and it's still connected, you know?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
really
That's
cool to think that that's a possibility. Like,
Yeah, it's super cool.
mhm.
It's like your legacy lives on forever.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that'd be a that's like that's almost like a North Star thing,
Mhm. Mhm.
almost in a way.
For sure, because like nowadays, we don't know what the next big thing is going to be. Like,
Right.
it was the internet, and now who knows what'll be next, right?
Yeah,
And
AI for
it's
sure.
pretty cool to think that whatever you might possibly create hasn't been like popularized yet or a thing yet. Like, we don't know,
You don't
and you
know.
could suddenly have a talent in something that's not even made up yet. So,
Imagine that, eh?
like, I would never
Gee,
think that I would spend time as a content creator. Like, I really
no.
thought I was going to go to university and be a researcher or stay in the
Yeah,
realms of academia. And that's why I
yeah,
say just try different things and just see where it goes
yeah,
because you never know, right?
yeah. You can. You can be both academic and an artist.
You can.
I don't
But what I'm
think there's
saying is, like, it's not something I predicted. Like, I never predicted um,
yeah,
enjoying this process. Like
right.
taking it from a hobby and keeping it a part of my life
Yeah.
in some ways like this. So
Super cool, eh?
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Very cool.
hmm
What are some other good books that you can recommend for artists? Do you have any in the book?
I liked Big Magic
Yeah,
by Elizabeth Gilbert.
yeah.
There's also I think it's The Creative Way by Rick Rubin.
Creative Act. Yeah, Creative Act.
Creative
Great
Act.
book. Yeah,
Yeah, The Creative
read that
Act.
one too.
Yeah, it's a really good one. There's so many.
Art of War. Have you read that? The Art of
That's
War.
that's come across
That's
my path. I haven't read it yet, but
yeah, that's a good one.
it's on the hold list. Yeah.
That's a good read. It's a good read. But yeah, I always like reading books like that stuff, especially
Mhm.
from other artists, because then you kind of get like their point of view,
Exactly.
which I think is cool. So,
I listen to a lot of memoirs as well, like of
oh yeah,
yeah. It helps to know the creative struggle, like what
right.
people did, what their journey
Let's
was like. I enjoy the journey of how people got to where they did before their
yeah,
success. Yeah.
yeah. What are some good ones? Memoirs,
Michelle Obama's is really good.
right?
You know, I don't know if this was a memoir, but I read Arnold Schwarzenegger's as well.
Schwarzenegger,
Yeah,
right.
his
Yeah,
approach to life is really good. Um,
yeah.
it comes down to a lot to habits and like early exposure to
Sure.
things that people have as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
mhm,
Environment,
environment,
surroundings,
yeah,
people.
surroundings,
Yeah. Super
and
important.
to those opportunities as well, right? Taking that chance when it presents itself to you.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta be ready for the opportunity too.
hmm
Like
hmm
that's why it's so important to practice and keep doing the thing because
hmm
when the opportunity comes, you gotta make sure that you're ready for it.
I don't think people think about that. That's the
You
thing.
know?
Like, I think that's why you got to do it for yourself, and then as you're doing it, you know,
Yeah,
when
things
the thing
happen.
comes around, you're ready for it, right? So,
Yeah. It's all about momentum too.
mhm,
If you
mhm,
kind of keep the momentum alive, then if you may meet someone or that person may know someone, or maybe
mhm.
there's an opportunity here or whatever, because you just never know, right? You just put it out there and see what comes back, right? But
Momentum's huge, but it comes back to the North Star, right? Like
yeah,
keeping that why
North
strong.
Star. I gotta write a book about that. The artistic North Star. That's a good title, probably
It's
not.
something I
Huh.
didn't share. I have another nickname of mine, which is
Oh,
Star. Um,
oh yeah, your
yeah,
nickname, you mean?
my nickname, another nickname of mine is
Oh
Star,
yeah,
and it's my creative name. It's a big
Star.
thing. I feel like I'm happy to share it now, but like
For
it's
sure.
fun to have a creative identity too, and that name is part of my writing name. Um,
Okay.
so I use it in the writing process, but I use it as in any place where I feel like there's that energy of creativity in the room, and
Ah,
it's fun.
I like it.
hmm
It works.
hmm
It works. Do you have any goals this year that you wanna achieve? Like anything, any goals, any
I'm
hopes?
trying to dabble in different art forms. That's
Mm,
my journey right now. Like I'm
got it.
exploring different art forms. I really love like art and movement. Like I'm
Okay.
trying to get into dance right now.
Oh, yeah?
Physically, I feel like I sit a lot
Cool.
during the day, so that's something I really want to dabble
Oh,
in.
yeah?
Um,
Cool.
so that's a goal of mine to get better at
Sweet.
dancing.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah? And
yeah.
what kind of dancing, though?
Well, I'm exploring right now, so I'm taking classes at studios, but I really do want to get into salsa. Salsa's a
Oh,
big
yeah?
one. Yeah,
Oh, yeah?
salsa's huge, and so many friends of mine already do this, and they're always inviting out. And it goes back to, okay, I don't know how to salsa. I don't know if I'll be good at it, and I don't want to
Right.
be that awkward person who's just standing around bobbing their head. But it's so fun just to be in that space. But
Right.
it's also nice when you actually know the technique and the foundation, and
Yeah.
it goes back to any type of art form. Like when you
Right.
know like those things, it takes away that pressure, it takes away the thinking, and you just
Right.
have fun with it, right?
Yeah. And it probably feels good that you feel like you're, like, achieving something,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah,
Kinda get that sense of achievement too. If you're learning how to salsa, you're learning how to do whatever, it's like, "Oh, I'm learning
exactly.
something I never did before." That's pretty cool.
Yeah, like it's another forgotten like art form of mine. Like I remember trying
Yeah,
it earlier and then stopping. So I think a lot of us get into that, right? Where we
sure.
we enjoyed this, but I don't know, for some
Yeah,
reason it took a back seat, right? So
yeah.
yeah, so getting back into
Very cool. Geez, you
that.
never stop, eh?
Yeah. always
You never. You're
always on the
doing.
move.
You're
That's
always
what I'm
doing
known for.
something. Always doing
Yeah.
something.
It's definitely something that I'm known for.
Yeah,
So definitely a dynamic person. Yeah.
yeah. Eh?
Mhm.
So, do you take breaks at all? Like, do you not like? Do you just stop and not do anything, or you're always doing something?
No, breaks
You're
are
all.
important, but
Yeah.
the thing is, when it comes to social media, I don't really know how people show that they're taking a break
Ah.
because, like, it just, I don't know. I don't know how
Yeah.
people share that, but
Yeah.
most people think that doesn't happen in my life, and I wonder
Right.
why that is. And
Mm.
nobody knows. Like, I'm in the world of events, and I shoot and I go out with my
Yeah.
camera, but no one
Yeah.
knows that I like to go to bed before 12, and I like getting my
Yeah.
my 8 hours of sleep, and
Ah.
like these important things that you need to let yourself rest, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Like it's always done. All goes back to burnout, right? Like
yeah,
if we're
exactly.
constantly on the go for every day of the year, it's like it's not
Yeah.
gonna end well.
In an
Usually.
ideal world, I'd love to have like that day where I don't do anything, but
Right.
it's become periods of the day where I make that happen.
Right. So you gotta put it. You almost gotta put it into your calendar.
Oh, totally. I actually do put it into my calendar because
Yeah.
that's where the
Yeah.
burnout happens if you don't do that.
Right. Yeah. If it's on the calendar, it's not gonna happen. It's one of those phrases.
Exactly.
But I guess it's come to that point where we kind of have to put it into the calendar.
That's what I
Otherwise,
mean.
it won't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And you look
Wow.
forward to it when you see that. Wow, this is
Yeah.
this is. I color code my things, so
Oh yeah.
it's nice to see. Yeah.
Whatever works for the person. Like
Mhm.
however you're gonna get it done, you just get it done. People work in different ways, right? So
It's funny because
however,
I'm trying to do this with meditation, like color
yeah.
code the time I do meditation, and
Okay.
it's so good to do that. I think as a practice for creative, just to have time to just receive and like sit,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
you know.
Sure. There is a benefit of just being bored
Yes,
and just
exactly.
sitting down without anything, just sitting down and just like
Hmm.
being there and just being
Hmm.
in the moment. Yeah.
Hmm.
I've read that many times over.
Yeah,
The
for sure.
importance of being bored actually stimulates the art,
Because it
being
needs
being
to
creative.
reset. Your body needs to reset, and then
Yeah.
just let it
It's too much information. Can't
recalibrate.
understand what's happening.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So, yes, be bored, kids. It does work. Trust me on that one.
Be bored.
Because then you get some really good ideas. It's kind of
Yeah.
like going in the shower. It's all of a sudden you have a great idea. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's
It
it's
just comes to you. Like that's what I
it
mean. Like
just
you
comes.
have to make time for that. Not doing
Yeah,
anything or
sure.
let things arrive. When you're not doing that thing.
Yeah, yeah. Don't put so much pressure on yourself
Yeah.
to get to get like the $1 million idea or whatever. So
Hmm. Hmm.
that's cool. You have any trips planned?
I just came back from Portugal, but I really,
Okay.
really want to do a festival, either Day of the Dead or I wanted
Mexico?
to go to. Sorry,
In Mexico?
that's in Mexico.
Mexico
That's
City?
right. Yeah, Mexico City.
Yeah.
But I'm also really fascinated with New Orleans. I've been obsessed
Ah,
with New
I went
Orleans.
yesterday, Super Bowl.
Exactly, the Super Bowl, but it's also Mardi Gras
Yeah.
right now. So that's like a really fun place. And I heard it's really fun for Halloween, so I might consider
Mm,
that later in the year. Um,
cool.
love, love traveling when there's something going on, like a big
Oh, right, a big
celebration.
festival.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, well, that could be a lot of fun, actually. I like New Orleans. I've been there a couple times. It's a good city.
Yeah. Has great food as well,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Very
great city.
theatrical. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100% for sure. Awesome. Well, we're kind of up against the hour, so I just want to say thanks for coming on. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Yeah, no, this was great. It's fun
Is
to
it?
dabble in this conversation and share the thoughts. So, yeah.
Yeah, you just never know who you're talking to sometimes, right? Like I
Mhm.
just message you on Instagram. Hey, it's okay. It's like, you just don't know who you're talking to. So okay, cool.
It's always good to put the face to the name on the
Well, that's
accounts.
what I mean. You're just saying offline. Like sometimes you have no idea who you're looking at on Instagram. It's like you're just kind
Mhm.
of like scrolling, but you're not really paying attention. So
Mhm.
it's always good
There's a
to get
human
like the
behind there,
backstory.
you know.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like you don't know. It's like, oh, this person does 12 different things. Okay, cool.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Love that. Do you have any final words, advice, feedback for people watching, listening out there?
Just start. Just do the
Ah,
thing and start. And it doesn't have to be a masterpiece at the beginning, right? So
yes,
mhm,
exactly. It's so important.
mhm.
Let the artistic voice out.
And make time for boredom.
It's so
That's a
key.
big takeaway.
It's huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's huge. Well, thanks, CJ, for coming on. I'd love to have you back on at some point.
Of course. Of course. This is great. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me. Yeah.
Cool. Everyone watching, listening, thanks for watching, listening, and go check out TJ. Links are in the description of this podcast, and we shall see you next time.
See you
Peace.
next time. Adios.
Adios.